Elara lived on a high, cold mountain where nothing ever grew. Her days were a quiet, gray canvas of rock and wind. Her only companion was a small, smooth iron box her grandmother had given her. "Open this when the wind finally stops," her grandmother had said, her voice like rustling leaves. For 17 years, the wind never stopped. It howled, it whispered, it shrieked, but it always blew. Elara had tried everything, building stone walls, huddling in caves, even shouting at the sky. She craved silence, a deep, ringing stillness she'd only heard described in old songs. One winter afternoon, Elara was gathering dry lichen for her small fire. She stopped, tilting her head. The wind wasn't there. It wasn't a lull. The total absence was unnerving. The only sound was the faint, high-pitched thrum of the cold air molecules settling. The mountain, a thing of constant noise, was now a tomb of silence. Elara's heart hammered a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She raced back to her small stone shelter, her boots crunching loudly on the frozen earth. She pulled out the iron box. It was heavier than she remembered. Her fingers fumbled with the latch. It clicked open. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, was a single silver seed. As she picked it up, a faint, almost imperceptible tremor ran through the ground. She knew she didn't have much time. The silence was too perfect. It felt like a breath being held. Elara ran outside, gripping the seed. She found a patch of thawed, sandy earth near a geothermal vent. She quickly scraped a shallow hole and tucked the silver seed inside, covering it with a handful of dirt. She waited, hands clasped over the tiny mound. The silence stretched, becoming oppressive. Suddenly, a brilliant green shoot erupted from the ground. It grew with astonishing speed, spiraling upward. Leaves unfurled not green, but shimmering gold. The stalk thickened, and at the very top, a single, perfect bud began to swell. Elara watched, mesmerized. The air around the plant began to warm, pushing back the mountain cold. She could smell something sweet, like honey and rain. Then, the bud burst open. It wasn't a flower. It was a tiny, glowing sun, radiating an impossibly warm, hopeful light. The light didn't just illuminate the mountain. It seemed to sing. As the flower reached its full, breathtaking bloom, a low, ominous sound began to build in the distance. The wind was coming back. Elara knew she couldn't keep the flower. It belonged to the moment of silence, a perfect, fleeting echo. With a deep breath, she reached out and gently plucked the silver bloom from its stem. The instant her fingers closed around it, the golden light faded. The flower withered, transforming into a single, perfectly dried, fragrant petal. At the exact same moment, the first furious gust of wind slammed into the mountain, shrieking past her ears, sounding louder than ever. The silence was broken. Elara stood in the sudden roar, clutching the petal. It was warm and smelled of summer. The mountain was cold and gray once more. But for the first time, Elara wasn't lonely. She put the dried petal in her empty iron box. The silence had only lasted for minutes, but in those minutes, she had grown a memory that would last a lifetime. And in the heart of the cold, howling wind, Elara now knew that even on the highest, grayest peak, a thing of perfect beauty could briefly bloom.